Thank you, Phyllis, for that beautiful, very complicated piece of music. The bright tones, though, really welcome the sun back, don't we? Let's have a round of applause for the sun. And if I'm service leader, you probably can guess what phrase comes next. Our service will be a little different today. As we begin to review our ministerial candidates, we'll have a shortened service, and included in the service will be our interview with the Reverend Minnassa Gabon, who is today's candidate. So she will be giving a message, lead us in meditation, and then you, as the congregation, will have the opportunity to watch in on the interview that will be conducted by the search committee, and we'll be sitting up here at this table. So please stand if that's available to you with our opening song, Love Unfolding.
My mind is open to changing the world. Let it begin, let change begin with me. My heart embraces a world wrapped in peace. Let it begin, let peace begin with me. I am an agent of change, a sweet dove of peace. I am love, I am love, I am love, I am love. I am an agent of change, a sweet dove of peace. I am love unfolding. My eyes envision a world aglow in love. Let it begin, let love begin with me. We move together toward all that is just. Let it begin, let justice begin with us. We are agents of change, sweet doves of peace. We are love, we are love, we are love, we are love. We are agents of change, sweet doves of peace. We are love unfolding. We are love unfolding.
Woo! Good work. All right, have a seat if that feels comfortable. Our candidate today is the Reverend Minnassa Gabon. As CEO of Minnassa Inc., she has more than 2 decades of expertise as a professional speaker, a minister, and thought leader. Ordained by the African Methodist Episcopal, or AME, Church in 2000, Minnassa regularly serves as a guest speaker for Unity and Centers for Spiritual Living congregations all across the nation. As the creator and host of the Minnassa Wellness YouTube channel, she combines her seminary and ministerial training with her New Thought, Ancient Wisdom faith to provide her audience with the tools to turn within and bring forth their hidden gifts and skills to create and live the life they want and deserve. A leader in her local community, Minnassa is chair of the Education Committee of the Mid-South LGBTQ Chamber, chair of the Senior Services Committee of Out Memphis, and chair of the Senior Activities Committee of the Tri-State Black Pride. In addition, she is a member of the National Council of Negro Women and the National Council of 100 Black Women. Minnassa and her wife, Gail, currently reside in Memphis, Tennessee. Please join me in welcoming the Reverend Minnassa Gabon.
All right, so am I on? Y'all can see me? Yeah. All right, right, so let me get my screen ready. My mother came up to me and said, "Have you seen Putty Tat?" And I said, "No, I haven't seen Putty Tat." Putty Tat was the name of our neighbor's cat who we were house sitting for, babysitting. And just like Tweety Bird, I thought I saw Putty Tat. So I just called to my sister and I said, "Julie, is Putty Tat in our bedroom?" And she said, "No." I said, "Well, go look in Mom's room." She said, "No." And I said, "Well, let me look here in the living room." Now, my mother was in the kitchen, so obviously Putty Tat couldn't be in there. So now, with our neighbors coming back the next day, we are concerned. Where is Putty Tat? So just did a cursory look, and then all eyes came focused on the screen door, our front door. Now, I know that Putty Tat could not get up there and move the latch, but we also all know that cats are very magical entities. And so, with sort of a let's not be too worried, my sister and I headed towards the screen door. She went next door because we lived in a little duplex complex, and so she went to see if Putty Tat had just gone to her house. I, on the other hand, am going up and down our complex going, "Putty Tat, Putty Tat, Putty Tat." I go out the street, "Putty Tat," and we get back in the house, and it's like, oh no, we lost our neighbor's cat. So now it's like search mode. Julie's in the room, my mom's room, we looked in the bathroom, we're looking in the cabinets in the living room, we're on the floor, just looking everywhere. My mom's in the kitchen feeling exasperated, she goes, "Oh my," well, there's Putty Tat. Above our refrigerator, we had like a little nookie type thing, and Putty Tat was right there the whole time. And so I used that example today that Putty Tat was above the fray. She was in a higher place. And so today I want to talk about the God spot. And our foundation verse comes from the songbook of the Bible, Psalms 91:1. "They who dwell in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty." And today I want to encourage us, invite us to make sure that we are living, moving, and having our being from our God spot. So that secret place of the Most High, Charles Fillmore calls it the inner chamber, that place where we consciously meet with God, meet with our divine within. So this is my image of what the God spot looks like a big heart, because I love the song I was singing along with you, that love right at the center, and then just light and just magic all around. And so for the next 3 hours, I want to talk about, I'm kidding, my message shouldn't take 3 hours. It should only be about 2.5. No, I'm kidding. I want to take a look at 3 episodes in the life of Master Teacher Jesus, and how his conscious connection to the God spot was his source for being a transformative presence in the lives of his community, and encourage us and challenge us to be and do the same thing. However, before I move forward with the rest of my message, I just want to say that I am so grateful for this opportunity today to be speaking here and to be a candidate to serve this congregation as your senior minister. I want to thank the search committee, Dave, and Leanne, Mary Ellen, Tana, and Phyllis for their hard work and their due diligence. As well, I want to congratulate this sacred community. I have watched your services and how well you have maintained not just the function of the service, but the community and the love. Like I was like, what is God? They saw a manla. What is going on? Why are they watching this film? I was all up in the biz, just how you have stayed connected. And I just honor your consciousness and your connection to this sacred space. And I want to just let you know, I honor you. All right, let's all just take a breath. Let's come back to our breath. Oh, you're applauding. All right. Yes, you deserve applause. You've all worked hard. Let's just take a moment. Let's connect to our breath. Let's breathe in and out and let's come back to our God spot. Now, why am I talking about this today? Because it's my belief that our families, our community, this world needs a transformative presence. People who are transformative, who are living, moving, and having their being consistently and consciously connected to their God spot. American philosopher, theologian, mystic, Howard Thurman puts it this way: don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive, and then go do that. Because what the world needs is more people who are doing and have come alive. I think about all these zombie movies, The Living Dead, and I think, yes, that's a very apropos description of too many people in this world today. Now, while they may be biologically alive, they are spiritually dead. They are emotionally dead. And they're just walking around, sleep, eat, work, repeat. And we have this practical Christianity, this message of life, of transformative presence. And it's not just for us to keep in our own little place, but it's a time for us to take our Christ consciousness and spread that joy, love, healing, hope, and bliss like a contagion. So this is how Master Teacher Jesus puts it: you are the salt of the earth. And our calling as salt is to preserve what is good, to enhance the flavor in a flavorless world. And at the time of Jesus, salt was an amazing spice. It was used as currency. It was very valuable. But I want to say that if you don't want to be the salt because your doctor told you to reduce the amount of salt in your diet, that's fine. You can go on down to fresh thyme, and you can be the chili powder of the earth, or the organic garlic powder of the earth. Or we can head on down right south to Trader Joe's in Indianapolis, and you can be the 21 season salute. That's Gail and Lily's favorite season, or be my favorite season, which is everything but the favorite. This world has become lifeless, and people are looking for anything and everything. Here in the South, opioids is an epidemic. I work in the hospital. I see people who just, it's like, have you ever drank something other than sweet tea? That's why your kidneys aren't working. Have you ever just, everyone's just trying to feed that emptiness, that hunger. And we have what they need. And I'm inviting us to be the spice of life. And so I want to take a look at 3 narratives, or 3 examples from the life of Master Teacher Jesus, that we can be in the world today and make this world a heaven on earth. The first sample I want to take a look at is Jesus feeding the 5,000, the daily news. Jesus feeds 5,000. And what I love about this is that the signs of abundance, what I love about this narrative is that, if you're a reader and you love mystery books, there's always little clues in this and that. And so if you start to get the clues, you'll be able to solve the mystery. And so here are clues all around us about how this great miracle is getting ready to turn out. 5 loaves and 2 fish, all right, the number 7, that number about completeness, fullness, creation narrative, all is good, that told. They took up 12 baskets afterwards, the number of God's perfect governance, and fish represent abundance. And so here is this scene of 5,000 people, which is a lot of people who are hungry. Disciples are like, send them away. And of course, Master Teacher Jesus is not into that. He says, just have everybody sit down. And what do you got? This number 7. And so there is this denial I see in Jesus' behavior. It's like, I deny this consciousness or this fear that there's not enough, that there's lack, that we're going to run out. And then by his behavior, by taking that little and giving it to the divine, connecting it, right? Stepping into his God spot where there's abundance, where there's joy, where there's more than enough, and says, let me bring it here, and then let's spread it out. And then they had not just enough, but more than enough, demonstrating this principle. that when we step into that God spot, we are able to do exceedingly abundantly more, because that's what the divine says. I will do exceedingly abundantly more. I always said that God is not very good at math. Doesn't seem good to be able to subtract and divide, but it's always good at adding to and multiplying. And that is the presence that we're supposed to be. Not something that detracts or splits, but increases, improves, and enhances. And so here is this very simple example of Master Teacher Jesus saying no to the mass consciousness, or no to he didn't deny, say, well, no, we got plenty. It's like, we're going to work with what we got. But he has this affirmation, stepping into that God spot, into that fullness, into that oneness where it's all good. It's everything. All we need is right here. Y'all sit down. We're going to have some fried fish and cornbread right now. That's if it happened in the South. That's what they would have. But this concept that we can be a source of feeding hungry souls, of feeding people whose emotions are drained, they're psychologically empty, that we have the source, from a hug to a kind word, to a prayer, to fill those hungry aspects in people's lives. The next story I want to take a look at is Jesus calms the sea. And so the story is that after really the feeding of the 5,000, they go away, they're going to go over to another side, and they get caught in a storm. And I always wonder how these fishermen seem to be just so wigging out. Jesus, of course, is sleeping like I do at the bottom of the boat, knocked out. And they come running down. They're like, dude, what in the heck? You better come up here. There's a big mess happening. And I can just see Jesus like, as a minister, I know that after you do a sermon and you really step into that place, sometimes you're just worn out. So he's going to go up to the top of the boat, and he's like, wind, I'm rebuking you, and sea, can you just calm down? And then he goes back to sleep, and everyone's like, oh my God. Right? Because again, so this is demonstrated that there are times when people's consciousness, or they're fretting, they're disconnected. You know, the wind represents thoughts that are just erratic and just floating all around, and the water represents emotions just roiling. And we have the chance to step into those situations when there's a hot mess and say, I speak peace into this situation. Peace, be still. Let my presence be that. Let my words be that. Let my actions be that. Let the seeds I plant in this circumstance be a resource for calming erratic thoughts, helping to calm turbulent emotions. And I will be the presence of the divine, because again, inviting you and I to live, move, and have our being from our God spot. The last example that I want to take a look at today comes from my favorite set of narratives. I love the 7 last words of Christ on the cross, and you guys incorporated that into your Easter service. It was very beautiful. And so many of the words that are spoken make sense, but this conversation between Jesus and this criminal, to me, could be a great study in the psychosis of how are you when you're dehydrated and hungry, right? That this could just be 2 men having a psychotic breakdown. But there is here again, on your worst day, can you live, move, and have your being? Can I live, move, and have my being from my God spot? I heard this sentence years ago, and it has stuck with me so long. Who you are under pressure is who you are. And so it's easy to be like, yeah, are y'all hungry? Yeah, here's some, yeah, let me give you some food. Yeah, look at me, right? You could just be living at large. And there's a big storm, you can come up and say, everybody chill. But when you are having your worst day, when you're being convicted of a crime that you didn't commit, that your buddies who were like, we're down with you, Jesus, to the end, not there. Your wife and your mother crying their eyes out there. The government is like, yeah, see, you were a criminal, we knew it. People are like, oh yeah, Jesus, you can do so much now. What you doing right now? And then the other person's being convicted with you is like, dude, if you're a magical dude, do something magical right now. It could just be like, ugh, I don't have the time. This is not the day. I didn't read my daily word this morning. I didn't make it to church last Sunday, so But on your worst day, Master Teacher Jesus shows us you can still be a transformative presence in your God spot. So the other person who's being convicted or punished tells the other criminal, shut up, you don't know what you're talking about. And he says to Master Teacher Jesus, who is also being convicted and punished with him, says, when you come into your kingdom, will you remember me? This is a huge namaste. The God in me, the divine in me, is honoring, acknowledging, seeing the divine in you. And I want to stay connected to that divinity. So on your worst day, when someone sees the God in you, the goddess in you, the divine in you, can you step and stay connected to your God spot? Well, Master Teacher Jesus shows us how, and he says, assuredly, today you will be with me in paradise. That even on my worst day, I will speak the truth of a consciousness that overcomes, that there's still hope, that there's still life, that there's still joy, because God is God when I'm feeding folks, God is God when I'm calming folks down, and God is God within me on my worst day, and I will live from that place. I'm not going to deny that right now is an awful circumstance, but I will stand in the midst of that circumstance and declare, you will be with me. We will be together in the divine presence. I want to turn back to Putty Tat, who was above the fray. That invitation to be in the world, but not of it. So it's not like, love and light and thoughts and prayers, I'm just going on my little way. And no, just say, okay, there's a hot mess right here and this needs, it's to use that divine eye and say, where can I be a transformative presence? How can I bring what I'm reading in the daily word, what I'm finding and hearing and being encouraged to do at Bloomington, and where I read the books, whether you're reading from Hay House, Wayne Dyer and Louise Hay, or you're reading something that the Fillmores wrote, or Eric Butterworth. How do I bring that which has brought life to me, which has transformed me? How do I step into that God spot and be that difference maker? Now, what you might be saying is, Minnassa, you just, girl, please. You talking to me, telling me to be like Jesus, to step into that power? Sure I am. Eric Butterworth says, Jesus clearly said that you can do all that he did if you can believe. If you can center yourself in the creative flow, as he was always centered. We are the place where God shows up when we turn within and tap into that eternal, forever resource, forever abundant, blissful, joyful spot. We will not only be God in person, we will be a transformative, healing presence, but it has to be an act of faith, and it has to be, according to what I see here in the text, from operating from our God spot. So I join with you, and you join with me in this namaste moment of seeing the divinity within each other, and then saying, I will live, move, and have my being from my God spot. And so it is.
All I see. face of God, face of God is all I am, and face of God is all I see. Face of God is all I am, and face of God is all I see.
I invite you to bring your attention to this sacred space that is you, and then the sacred space that you're in, which is this beautiful community of Bloomington. Let us take a moment to take a breath in and out. Let's take a breath in and out. And one more breath in and out. And in this place, I invite you to step into your inner chamber, that sacred space where you connect with your divinity. Let's become embodied in that space, bringing your attention to your left foot, your right foot, to both your feet, bringing your attention to your ankles, your calves, your knees, your thighs, your bottom as you sit, feeling your back against the chair, thinking about the core of your body, all those beautiful organs that work day in and day out, your rib cage, your lungs. And while we're there, let's take a breath in and out. And that heart, the center of the divinity within. Let's make sure we're not holding tension in our shoulders. We release them up and then drop them down, wiggling our fingers, our wrist, being present from our chin to the top of our head, being present bodily, spiritually, eternally, knowing that right here is God, that within us is all that is needed for us personally, for this community, for the city, for the state, and the world, from within. Let us take a breath in again and out, committing to being more of our divine self every day. And so it is.
I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. Sometimes I wonder and ponder, only to realize I'm not alone, and there's nothing I have to do on my own, place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up.
Thank you, everyone. We are coming to the most non-traditional part of our service now. It's wonderful that we got a message, we were brought into a meditative state, and now we will open the interview process. As I mentioned earlier, that the search team, if you will all come to the table in the front, will be facilitating the interview process with Leanne asking the questions. And afterwards, we will let the Reverend Gabon know of next steps. And then we will thank her and release her from the Zoom. We'll finish our service and then have some time after the service coming together as a community to talk amongst ourselves about this. So thank you for being here today. This is a really, really important step in the evolution of our community, and we're so happy to welcome the Reverend Minnassa Gabon.
Oh, am I supposed to be making an opening statement?
No, I'm going to lead you.
Okay.
You can just relax, Minnassa.
All right.
Take a deep breath, right? First of all, Minnassa, this is Leanne. Can you see us?
Yes.
Okay, good deal. I just want to thank you for the message that you gave us today, reminding us to stay connected with our God spot, even on our worst days. That was a great, great message. So thank you very much. Welcome to the interview. I'm going to explain the format to you. There will be 3 beginning questions in this half hour. We've marked off about a half-hour time frame. So there will be 3 beginning questions for you to elaborate on. And then after you finish those 3 questions, I will ask you one more question. And then there will be time at the very end for you to ask us anything that you would like to ask us. Is that good?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Again, I'd like to reintroduce the search committee to you. Sitting here beside me, again, I'm Leanne Kelly, Davda on the end, Mary Ellen May here beside me to the right, Tana McElhenney, I have to practice that name all the time, right here, and Phyllis Wycliffe. Oh, I got it right. Okay.
Phyllis, let me just for a minute, you started with that Mozart. I'd had church already. Thank you so much.
And I'll say,
She requested that.
yeah, she requested Mozart, so the committee met a couple days ago, and Phyllis said, "Whew, I've been practicing all week." It really showed, too. You did awesome. To start us off, Minnassa, would you mind to open us in prayer?
I would love to. Let's just take a moment to turn within, become present in this moment, and to welcome in the spirit of divinity within us all, knowing that this sacred community has put out a call, and now we invite in the spirit of wisdom. Let our ears hear, let our eyes see, and let our bodies know as we communicate, meditate, come and reason together. We invite you, oh great spirit, to have your way in this time, knowing that all is well. And so it is.
Okay, Minnassa, just take a deep breath and here we go.
All right.
You're among friends.
You are among friends, that's right.
Thank
Number
you.
1. Spiritual leadership is like putting a puzzle together. You would be responsible for meeting the spiritual needs of our community, like providing a Sunday message, one-on-one counseling, teaching classes, any administrative tasks, and also working with our volunteer leaders. And that's just to list a few. Please tell us what would be your approach to organizing these responsibilities.
I would cry. No, I'm kidding. Well, first of all, I would continue with collaboration. And I'm at a place in my life where I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. So I see already a very well put together congregation. I would reach out to collaborate with Reverend Davis, who is in Indianapolis, and say, I'm a new minister here. I know how to preach and teach. I know how to love on folks. I know how to do weddings and funerals. What works well for your congregation? And, as a unity minister, let me find out. I would then sit down with the leadership team and say, what are your priorities? What do you want me to focus on? Then I'm going to take all that information into prayer and then begin to lay out a program. I would say that my very first thing would be to just love on folks. When you don't have a spiritual leader, you've had messages, you have awesome music, you have a great tech team. I saw, I don't want to mispronounce her name, I think Joni or Johnny did a presentation about grief, and I was shocked when I saw the tech team could play an actual video. I was like, wow, this is like primo. So I think the very first thing is that folks just need to be loved. They need to have a pastor's love. And then all those other things will get put together. I would say that there's internal and external goals. So one, let's collaborate with our sister Unity Church in Indiana. I see you got a new mayor. Let's talk with the mayor. How can this congregation serve our community? Then I think the internal goals is to say, what's working well perfect? What do we need? We need to have some licensed unity teachers. Right, so Dave, I'm looking at you. Joni did an amazing speech to the young man that was the facilitator during the Easter service. I think you have, again, you have a great resource. And what I can do as the pastor is say, tap, 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 you've got what you need. How do we use it? How do you fill it? And to come from there. But I would just come to love. Begin with love.
Embedded in that question, just let me touch on one area. Really interested in workshops, our community. Touch on what you might present there, Minnassa.
Well, so my understanding is that many people know something about the Bible, but they don't know very much about it. And so I would love to do something for like teaching, something like Old Testament survey, New Testament survey. Let's get an understanding so when we're talking about the book, we know we're all on the same page. I would love to do workshops. So I'm a mindfulness expert. So how do we handle our stress? Let's do a workshop on how to reach out to our community. One of the things that people have asked me in interviews before, so what do you think about Jesus? I think he's a cool dude, okay? Right, that he's the way shower. I get that, but to me, and it's obviously from my life experience, I see Jesus as just all out committed to inclusion. If you read the narratives of Jesus and watch how many rules of his society he was breaking, I'm surprised his ministry lasted 1 year and they just didn't beat him up after a few months because he was just destroying their paradigms. And so for me, let's do a workshop on are we inclusive, really? See that Jesus loves magnanimously. Can we do those things? And I love books. I told Phyllis, she was asking, well, to move forward with us, you have to do special dispensation, you have to go to class. I'm like, I get to buy books? What? Books? Yeah, let's take a book study. Like I don't have it in here with me, but Eric Butterworth has a little book about unity. I love that. Um, uh, Myrtle Fillmore has a book called Let God, I think it's like, How Can You Let God Heal You? And that book to me, I know we have the 12 powers of man and this, Charles Fillmore just having this total, just channeling these amazing concepts. But in that little book by Myrtle, she's just dropping little bombs of information. It's like, what? I mean, it's like just covered with highlights. So let's make sure we're on the foundation of the Bible. Let's make sure we all talk about the same Jesus. And then let's take a look at these unity materials and let's have some workshops about what these mean. And that doesn't mean they have to be done by me, but let's open it up to people who may be experts on those. Let's invite other new thought ministers to come in. But yeah, I think let's get back to the basics, number one. Let's have some time where we're hitting the basics. Start Unity 101 and go from there.
Okay, thank you. Question number 2. Maybe you connected on this a little bit, but in your talk, Sunday service is wonderful, but connecting with Christ consciousness is an activity that needs to be practiced more than just on Sundays. How do you recommend that we motivate and support folks to practice connecting with Christ consciousness beyond Sunday service?
That's a great question. So one is, again, let's not reinvent the wheel. Several Unity churches have a morning prayer call. So that is a very good way to let's start our day together and get in this, you reading the daily word, or I have lots of materials. Let's read something that is getting our consciousness correct, getting our consciousness in alignment would be more accurate. And then starting the day, right? Because if you start the day in your God spot, it's going to have to take something to really pull you out of it. I think the other thing is to have this might show my Pentecostal background, but let's have Wednesday night service, and where we do a miniature form of service, maybe do a meditative service, where again, we're spending that time in that sacred and safe space, connecting and refreshing. It's hard to go from Sunday to Sunday, especially in this world. So let's have something in the middle of the week, or it could be as simple as one of the things people are asked, well, what are you going to do to grow the church? Well, I say, it's not my job, it's the job of the community, right? If folks see God in you, they're going to come here, right? That's simple, right? But how do people, nowadays it's an electronic world, so we've got to use YouTube, right? So maybe on Wednesdays, instead of coming to the church, we do a YouTube live. So I'm just putting all this pressure now on the tech team. I come sit in the sanctuary and we have a YouTube live where we do a service that way. We got to get on Instagram. Got to start putting positive energy. So, on Monday, we're going to have mindfulness and we're going to put something on it. Everyone hit that post. Tell me how you use it. So you got to think outside the box and hit those things where we can connect and where people can find us that aren't here yet.
Great, thank you. Number 3, we have a very powerful volunteer leadership throughout our
yes, obviously, yeah. Watch your services over the last year, obviously.
Oh, thank you. People have worked very, very hard, and it really has shown and paid off. So that being said, we have a powerful volunteer leadership on our community. How do you see yourself working with this in your ministry?
I am ready to unleash the gifts of the volunteers, right? That this isn't about, and this is about Minnassa's on the scene, everybody step back. Because sometimes, and it's like being a coach, right? The coach isn't on the team. They're a part of the team, but they're not playing, right? So you pick the people who have their talents, and then you say, bring your talents. How can we work together? Bring what you have. And oftentimes, there are people who are lurking, who don't feel, there's people like me that are like, hey, hi, ready to get my gifts. Pick me. But then there's people who are in the back that's where a pastor's eye goes. Who is on the fringes that we could bring in. So I'm not, it's not like Manassa's way or the highway. When you're married, that doesn't work anyway, right? And when you have children, children can just destroy any sort of mindset you have that you are in control of something. And when you have a daughter, if you're a mother with a daughter, you might, my daughter's like, well, what are you gonna wear with the background that we put up? It's just like, I will wear a black dress. Do you approve of that? Yes, I do. Okay, good, you're right. So I am a collaborator. And I think when you take a look at Master Teacher Jesus, you see that he's really trying to get his disciples to, here, you can do this, and we're gonna bring down fire on these people that disagree with you. And Jesus is like, really? Is that what you learned from hanging out with me? Right, so there has to be a modeling on my aspect. Now, having said all that, I know how to lead. So if you say, this is what we expect of you, and I put the plan together, and the board and I come together, then that's, there is the Magna Carta, for lack of a better word, of what we're gonna use. But all those things need to be reviewed. Like, well, this is what we put together, and for the next 40 years, this is what we're gonna do. It doesn't have to be that way. You can have a time for review, but you gotta have a plan and then work the plan. And that plan is collaboration, bringing my gifts, modeling, and loving.
So you notice you're getting a lot of claps here. You can tell we got a strong group behind me.
Yeah, you do. That's how your church, I was in a church where we didn't have a minister. It was a 9-month process held together, and the church fell apart afterwards. Right? So you have demonstrated that you're committed to your community, and that's what matters in the end. Your history of your church, you started out without a spiritual leader. And so y'all know how to do that.
Thank you again. Thank you again. Okay, here's a good question for you. What experience have you had with spiritual paths outside of unity, and how has that shaped who you are today?
Well, by growing up in traditional church, I am a traditionally ordained Methodist minister, the AME church. I learned about attending church, about Sunday school. All those processes were helping me, I see now, to connect to the divine, even though that probably wasn't the deal, but that's the intention behind those things. I spent a lot of time in the Foursquare church, so Pentecostal. So that's where I learned to have a personal devotion. So the AME church taught me, you come to church on Sunday, you attend Sunday school, you participate in, in the events of the church. But the Pentecostal church, a Foursquare church, I was privileged. I don't know if any of you have heard of Jack Hayford, but I went to church on the way. And so under his ministry, the one thing I learned is you have to, and it shows in all my sermons now that I think about it, you have to have a personal commitment, and that I have to have my personal time. That, I could run myself out giving and loving, but that's not what a church needs, is some minister running on empty. That I have to be sure to make sure that my work, my relationship with the divine is consistent and constant. So those two things, that I know how to be a part of an organization, rules and regulations, get your paperwork in. Even as the pastor, there's so much quarterly paperwork, things you have to send to, I think you guys call it the mothership, we had to send it, I understand that process, that there are rules and regulations, there's paperwork that needs to be done. Is our insurance up to date? Are we protected here? One of your papers, when I read that, it sent about when you have Sunday school, when the ministry of children returns, you got to protect the kids. I'm a mandatory reporter. So if some kid comes to me and says, my mom, dad, someone pushed me down the stairs, I have to call the police. But that is true of the Sunday school, right? So there's what the church taught me. There's the rules and regulations. And being in the Pentecostal church taught me about how to connect and make sure that I am developing my own spirituality. And then moving into New Thought Church, it helped me I had to unlearn that God was some magical being outside of me, but that the magic is within me. And if I can connect to that, and that has been a very hard process for me, because I spent so much of my life trying to get God to love me and approve of me, because I'm a recovering people pleaser. So I had to understand that God already loves me because I am the divine. I am God. If I can connect to that. So that has been my real process of learning that, and then being able to see the God within others and connecting that. Oftentimes, even when we disagree about something, we can step back and say, okay, let's let the divine be in this conversation. Let's just sit in silence, or we're going to take some time away, and those things that we use to hear from the divine will work with those. So that's how that brought me together. That learning how to work in an organization, learning how to turn within, and then unlearning some of those more toxic elements of the traditional church, and really being able to step into my divinity and seeing that in everyone. So even in people that I disagree with, I still have to say, somewhere within you, there is that spark of the divine, and I will acknowledge that and send love to that place.
Let me elaborate just a little bit on that question or that answer. You talked about the traditional piece, and your training and the Pentecostal, and what was that one moment where you knew you were led towards unity principles?
So so the way that I knew was that I walked away from the traditional church because I started thinking, I don't really believe this. And God's too psychotic for me. When I love you and I'm going to strike you dead. It's like, okay, I'm not trying to be in a relationship with someone like that. So, just saying, right? I was like, I don't have time for that. And so I walked away. I have a seminary degree, went through the whole ordination hazing process, and had to let that all go. But when I walked out of the church, I said, God, I'm letting you go too. But there's something in me that tells me you're not this off your meds type of person that you're often presented as. And so when I got back home, I went to my safe place, which is a bookstore. I went to Barnes & Noble's bookstore. And I was drawn to the New Age section, which of course scared me. It's like, that's where the devil is, over there, and all that New Age and New Thought. But I couldn't help it. And so I got a book by Abraham Hicks, Ask and It Shall Be Given. And I started reading the book. And the book said, you are the creator of your life. And I slammed the book shut and I put it back on the shelf. I said, this is some BS, because my life was a hot mess. And I thought, I don't want to be responsible, but I couldn't help it. So I went back to the store again. And I read some more, and I thought, this is just a bunch of gobbledygook. But just one day, maybe a week or two later, it says, you know this. And the words came to me, as a person thinks in their heart, so they are. I thought, oh my gosh, this has been in front of me my whole life. So I took a look at it again, and I thought, yes, if I'm responsible for the mess of my life, then I can be responsible for the healing and the expansion of my life. I then met my friend Terry, who I call the angel of my life, and she introduced me to The Secret. And I watched it, and then I thought, what's this Agape church? Well, I ended up at Agape with Reverend Michael Beckwith. And it was there that capacity, that new thought, that understanding that, I guess there's new thought isn't something that, the Fillmores made up, or that Ernest Holmes was like, yeah, I want to make a new religion. But it was really bringing forth thoughts that are longer than that have been around forever. They're eternal. And then as I moved here, I looked for a New Thought church, and there's 2 Unity churches here. Neither one came up on Google, but I found another congregation and then began to work with the Unity pastors. I took a class with Unity, and I just thought, okay, here again, let me get the foundation. Let me get an understanding of what is the box. I thought, okay, this is something that is very true for me. I see this. Yes, I like it. UNITY, which is a song by Queen Latifah. I just really felt that draw to that understanding that the Fillmores. I can heal myself. I am the source of healing. You know, Johnny Coleman, that powerful preacher that she is, and just this understanding that I am a unified whole. That's what I like about unity. I am a unified whole. There's nothing broken about me. There's nothing fragmented about me. There's nothing about me that needs to be corrected, just healed, expanded, and evolved. And that capacity to step into that unified space of oneness is what has drawn me to unity.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there anything else that you would like to tell this community or to say about yourself that we have not given you that opportunity to tell us?
Well, I would say that I know how to work hard and I know how to rest hard, so that coming there to serve, I'm always serious about what I do. And I come, thanks to Gail, I come at 100%, where I used to come at 200% and tire myself out. But that I am looking to lead a congregation that's ready to make a difference. You know, I didn't bring your bylaws, you know, but you talk about, we want a minister that's going to challenge us. We want to be challenged. So if that is true, right? Because to me, to be challenged, like, we're going to do the same thing today. Oh, that was so challenging. We're going to do the same thing today. Oh my God, you're right. There's no challenge in that. So if you are really ready to be challenged, to me, challenge means step out of your comfort zone, do something different. The world, we watch the news. The world is hungry for people. And that is my drive. Get out of the church building. You know, I'm gonna be like asking the board, so listen, you know, Bloomington Pride, Indianapolis Pride, we need to be there, right? You want the church to grow, let folks know that this is a safe place. So I am really ready to come put my shoulder to the grindstone and bring my gifts. But my biggest thing is you gotta live it, and you have to be willing to do something different. So does that mean you're gonna change stuff when you get here? Have you ever got a new manager at your job? Stuff changes. You get a new CEO, stuff changes. We get a president and stuff changes. Change is a part of the challenge, of expansion, of making room. I can't give you something. I can't bring my gifts. I can't bring my love if your hands are closed like this because you're so busy holding on to what you already have. I have to let go too. I have to come and say, hot mess and hot person, right? I have to come being willing to let go of the expectations that I'm going to be perfect in everything that I do, right? Recovering perfectionist and recovering people pleaser. But I'm going to hold you to those bylaws. Are you ready to be challenged? Do you really believe that we're one race? The human race. Are you really ready to be led and to collaborate?
Let me elaborate on that a little bit while we're here. You look like you have you're a successful person where you're at. Memphis is nice and hot. What has drawn you to us?
Well, it'll be a full circle moment in some ways. My mom is from Indiana. I have relatives in Indianapolis. And so it would be, in many ways, a homecoming for me to return to where it all began for me. Now, I have never been to Indiana. Why? Because all my relatives wanted to come to California, right? We wanted to go to Disneyland and all that stuff. And then my mother would not come in the summer because it was too humid, I guess. And she wasn't gonna come in the winter. Well, that's when my winter break and summer break. And so to come to Unity, what made me choose you? So I will be in all vulnerability. I looked at 3 churches, right? Because one, I'm not gonna live like all the churches in New York and Michigan, those were off the list. I'm not gonna live in that type of cold. I'm not, right? And I'm not gonna go to Florida because I think it's gonna be illegal to be black there in the next year or so, or to be LGBTQ, and I'm both of those things. So, Texas is fine. So I wanted to find 3 churches where I could see they had a system. I am a Virgo, I'm an earth sign. Do you have a system? Do you have a list? Let's go. But I saw a real heart at this location. I saw more than function. I saw functionality. You know, for you to honor the volunteers, to let the volunteers come and talk about why they come there, right? This could be, listen, we're gonna get in here, we're gonna do the song, the prayer, the message, and get out. But this is a community. People wanna be here. People want to give. People want to serve. You have the, if I understand right, you have a daycare in the basement. So you've opened up to the community. And that's what I'm looking for. You know, a church that says we're here from Sunday from 9 to whatever, and then we're not coming back here again till the next Sunday, not for me. Not for me. I want to be a part of the community. I am very family oriented.
Awesome. Us Virgos stick together, right?
All right, Leanne, I knew it.
You know, that's why I got my list up here numbered.
That's right. That's
well,
right.
thank you so much. Do you have questions for us?
Well, tell me about these delicious and eclectic potlucks that you have.
Wow.
I know. I should have said something. I thought, don't lead with that question. Say something like, tell me about how you know. I'm a foodie. Let's talk about the food.
Well, Minnassa, I'm from Tennessee, and so, you know, we Southerners, food connects us, food and music.
Indeed.
So we have both of those in spades, and yeah, we have a lot of people every Sunday. This is something that our transition lead, Jonna, has put in place, and it was tell people to linger and to mingle.
Yes,
And
yes,
what helps you do that? Food. So yeah, a lot of our volunteer activity and the way that it's been organized is definitely Jonna and our board. And it's a wonderful tradition, and we have a lot of great cooks in our community.
Thank you. And Jonna, yes, I want to thank Jonna for her message on good grief. So important and honest to talk about it.
Yep.
So what do you think are the top 3 priorities for someone coming there as the senior minister?
I'm passing that on.
I think you've touched on that already. The top priority is to love us and to allow those of us who already have stepped up to become volunteer leaders to continue and help us be better at that and bring others who have been lurking back into the fold and invite them to not lurk anymore, but to do. So I think you would be great at that.
Well, thank you. And then
That
let's
Southern
talk
food, that Southern
What?
food, could you contribute that Southern food?
Now, remember, I grew up in Southern California, so I'll bring a salad or some tacos. Just saying. Right? I can bring some Mexican food. The Southern food, I mean, here, I'm telling you, they put sugar on everything. I had sweet potato fries yesterday at work, and I thought, oh, what is this little crumbly stuff? Oh, you put sugar? I was like, oh my God. So I'll bring the sweet tea, yes.
Okay. Any other questions for us, Minnassa?
So talk to me about what is your understanding or the church's mindset about using social media to put the word out about the church and to attract, I'm gonna take that question away. So let's talk about inclusivity.
Okay.
Right? That if you have me come there, more people like me are gonna come there. That means Black, LGBTQ, loud, out. Are you ready for that?
We are ready. Clap. You guys agree? Okay.
All right, so then this is my last question. Let's talk about the use of social media. And that may be a different conversation, but using your YouTube channel, using Instagram, if it's not illegal to have like a TikTok channel, because people are everywhere. And if you want, to me, you have to meet people where they're at, right? It can't be like, well, if you want to come to Unity Bloomington, you better show up here. Well, how? Come to me, and then so do you have a plan, a thought process about using social media?
Well, yes, take that.
We have a wonderful communications team, and we're meeting and trying to figure out the best venues. We do have a Facebook page. We used to have an Instagram page. We're still trying to unlock it because there's been a lot of transitions for, it seems like, and I just came in the fall, but it seems like this crew that's together, we want to do more, and we're working on it. But that's also a reason we're looking for a minister to kind of help us take the lead and be that voice and be that kind of point person. So yeah, but it's important to us, and we do have some techies and people who are excited about it. So
Perfect. Perfect. And then last thing, tell me about the church, the building upgrade.
Okay, I guess I get that one by default. We purchased this building, 20 years ago plus? And there were issues with it then that were not addressed, that are now showing up, that have to be addressed at this point. But we also are in a renovation phase for just making it look better too. In the last 7 or 8 years, things have just kind of been on a par. We haven't really done much in terms of the building. And we've realized over the last year or so that it matters. Our surroundings matter. And so we have started some things. We'll be continuing that. And we have a plan, and we're working the plan, just like you were talking about.
Very good, very good.
We have that in place. There's a committee that is actually dedicated to that. The Chapel Action Team. We have a number of teams. We call them teams rather than committees. But they are in charge of that, but anybody can offer suggestions. And so we have Randy Craw, the gentleman that you talked about, who was one of the facilitators for the Easter program. That's Randy, and he's kind of our construction expert and has been helping with that. So we have several things to do in that area, and we're aware of that, but we do have a plan and are working that plan.
Okay, I was just thinking about one of the things is to make the inside, wedding friendly, wedding appealing friendly.
Yeah, those are the things that we're working on.
Okay, perfect.
Well, you got it. Why don't you talk about next steps?
Okay, first of all, let's say thank you, Minnassa. Thank you for the message that you provided, and thank you for who you are and for sharing you with us. So, next steps, as you are aware, we have 3 candidates. You are the first one that we have heard from. We have the next 2 weeks, each one of our candidates will be on each one of those Sundays. And after we release you today, which will be very shortly here, then we will have a little bit of food and have a discussion as to whether or not we would like to ask you to come to have a personal interview here in Bloomington. Come to deliver a full service, Sunday service, teach a workshop, have a meet and greet, let us get to know you a little better, whether we fit together and how we would fit together. So that's what today's discussion will be. Do we want to bring you that? We are taping the discussion, and this morning, taping, shows my age.
Yes.
We can't Zoom, we can't live stream Zoom, but it will be your message, and this part of the interview will be on our website shortly, sometime today. So we will give people who were not able to be here today 1 week to look at that and to give us their suggestions also. So within 10 business days, so within 2 weeks, we should be able to let you know whether we would like to invite you for a personal visit here to Bloomington or not. So that's the next step going on. Do you have a question about that? Or is that okay with you?
How will I hear about it?
I will send you an email. Either Dave or myself will send you an email.
All right, how about a text also?
A text also? Okay.
Yeah, because emails can,
That's
or
true.
at least the text says check your email, and then I'll be like, okay,
I hear you.
yes.
Okay. thank you so much for being with us today. We're
Thank
going to
you.
release
Thank you.
and we will get back with you as soon as we can.
Thank you so much. All of you have
Bless
a
you.
beautiful day.
We're going to complete our service now. We didn't want to go 3 weeks without asking for money.
Well, and now we move into gratitude, and I am so grateful for all of you for being here, being an active part of this process. And I am also so very grateful that the video that Mary Ellen and her father did attracted such high quality candidates, and these next 3 weeks are just going to be such a gift. It's just really strong candidates. So in that space, or from that space of gratitude, we now prepare to show our gratitude for what we continue to receive. There are several ways to contribute. Checks or cash are always welcome, or you can use the text to give button on the screen or the donate button on the website. And as the offering bags are passed, please bless the bags and their contents, whether you give electronically, whether you're giving today, whether you give of your service and your presence. All of that is welcome. Please bless the bags as they pass by you. If you're new to us, this is not a traditional service. I'll say that again. Please fill out the blue visitor forms in the pocket of the chair in front of you with our first impressions. And prayer requests are also available in the pocket. Both of those forms may be dropped in the offering bag as it is passed. I'd also like to say, if you have any questions about the process or today's service or Unity in general, any of the folks who are sitting up here at the table are happy to answer questions for you. And I now invite all of us to affirm our abundance affirmation together. I am an abundant being in an abundant universe. I am not dependent on people or situations for my good. God is the source of my supply. I always have something to give, and I consistently give it. I expect the best, I give my best, and I now attract the best in every experience.
There are at least 100 ways my good is coming to me. There are at least 100 ways my good is coming to me. At least 100 ways for me to receive. I embrace my good, and I do believe. There are at least 100 ways my good is coming to me. There are at least 100 ways my good is coming to me. At least 100 ways for me to believe. And countless blessings that I now receive. There are at least 100 ways my good is coming to me. There are at least 100 ways my good is coming to me. My good is coming to me. My good is coming to me.
Woo! So much good. Thank you, greeters. And now please join me in speaking our offering blessing. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, and I am grateful. Thank you, everyone. Just a few short announcements, and I'll explain again the community discussion that will be happening shortly after this. One is that the Monroe County United Ministries food drive is active and present in our foyer. There are 2 boxes there, and you can contribute dry goods, canned goods. You have until April the 30th to bring in any food, and we participate in this every year, so please be generous. If you have any questions about that, I'm going to refer you to Phyllis. Also, you may have noticed a lovely blue and kind of lavender QR code in your bulletin and on the lobby door where the sign up to be a greeter used to be. When you scan this QR code with your smartphone, it takes you to a section of our website, Volunteer to Greet at Unity, and the Sign Up Genius program. So you can say, I can serve on these Sundays, and that helps us organize our troops better. Please consider your schedule and sign up to be a welcoming greeter with this convenient tool. And thank you to all of you who have been involved in making that process even more efficient. Speakers for the next 2 weeks, we are blessed. The Reverend Catherine Breaux will be speaking next week on April the 21st. Format will be the same as this week. And then April the 28th, we have our final candidate, the Reverend Ruth Miller. So today, a reminder, I've touched on this a couple of times, but Joni will facilitate a discussion with our community using a little tool, and she'll go through that with all of you. You'll have an opportunity to answer some questions, and then she will lead us in a facilitated discussion about the results from those questions, because you'll get to see how everybody responded on the screen. Before we go into that, we have a bit of time, 15 minutes, to grab some food, say hello to a couple of people, but come back to your chair. You don't have to have finished your food before taking a seat and being prepared for the community discussion. If you have children with us today, we ask that you grab some things for your kiddos, take them downstairs, and then if you will come back up and participate in the discussion and let your kiddos munch away, probably outside on this gorgeous day.
And we do have childcare for that. They're not going to be on their own.
The oldest one's in charge. That's how it was in my family. Anyway.
Mine too, in my church as well. Going up.
So now, please join me in saying the prayer for protection. Together. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Let's form a circle and sing our peace song before grabbing some food.
Quickly.
Peace on earth, and let you, everyone. Please be back in a chair. Take a seat within 15 minutes, so that's 10 after 12. 12?